All right, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a live Q&A. And as people start to filter in, I actually want to go over some of the wins, some really cool wins that have happened, success stories in my free mastermind group. Here's a link to join that group. Like I said, completely free. So let's look at some of these wins because, yeah, it is, I guess, a testimonial, right? But it also, seeing other people have successes, especially people that were struggling, it helps reorient your mindset to see this is possible for you too. And that's kind of what unlocks the door to be able to have success in anything, right? You have to believe that it can work for you, right? That there is a lane there for you where you can have success. And a lot of people, they're kind of, they're defeated before they even start because they don't believe that there's any chance they will succeed. Obviously, action is everything, but if your mindset is garbage, if your mindset is super negative and you don't believe that you can have success, then you're not going to have that success, even if I laid out a perfect plan for you, right? Even if I gave you the exact steps to take, if you don't believe they're going to work, then you're just not going to take them. Or at the very least, you're not going to follow through if you did start. So let's look at a couple of these wins. Let me make sure I show it. Guess this works. So this was someone who got laid shortly after they took a boot camp. And it turns out, I didn't know this at the time. It turns out this guy was a virgin, right? It turns out this guy lost his virginity shortly after taking a boot camp. And I think obviously that's really cool. This is another guy, took a boot camp a week ago, ended up meeting a girl in Vegas that lived in his same city. And then he ended up meeting her in that city and hooking up with her. And he actually got laid twice that week, as it turns out. I'll share the text for that later. Another guy, he did the Social Club's free 30-day challenge that we ran last month, and he ended up ending a long dry spell by joining. Let's see if I. Sorry, I'm making sure it's showing the right thing for you guys. Yeah, so he joined the 30-day challenge, and then he ended up ending a long dry spell. So he didn't pay for anything. He didn't join a boot camp, but he just joined the challenge, took consistent action, wrote field reports, and got success, right? Like, I think it's important to define success very practically, because becoming more confident, yeah, that's great. That's important. But most dating coaches, I look over their testimonials as one way to see, like, is this someone I would want to collaborate with, who I think is legit, who I could, gain useful knowledge from, or is this guy complete bullshit? And when I see all the testimonials are like, yeah, it was a cool experience and I felt great. I mean, that's something, but that's not really what I'm here to get you, right? It's to get you tangible results, which then, like getting a girlfriend, getting laid, meeting your wife, building a rotation, whatever it is. And that therefore leads you to become more confident and to feel like you had a great experience, right? Not the other way around. And this is another guy. These are all from the last week. This is another guy who ended a 2.5-month dry spell by going out, I believe, with one of the guys in the group. So make sure to check that all out. Check the group. Join the group by clicking the link below. You get access to, as you take action, as you participate, as you post and share field reports, etc., you get access to rewards. And eventually that'll be things like a coaching call with me. But it'll start with free books, free online courses. It's a group that incentivizes action taking, whereas, most of the modern world incentivizes making excuses and being a total bitch. So I think that is a very powerful tool to have, this friendly sense of competition, to have this, basically gamification, using the same stuff that addicts us to, like Halo. That's one that I was deeply addicted to. I played like 6 hours a day in high school. Using those same tools, but in a positive way. So make sure to check out that group. And now I'm starting to see questions, so I'll start answering these. Any missions for a beginner to intermediate? Um, I would like a more specific definition of what you mean by how you're beginner to intermediate, because it really depends on your situation. Um, I've been around. I did a live stream what 2 3 days ago, but good to see you. So as far as missions for a beginner to intermediate, um, are you already cold approaching and are you using the dating apps? I have to know that, and how much results are you getting currently? How much do verbals text matter in game text? Uh, why is your hair so cool? Thank you. How much do verbals text matter? I don't know what you mean. So I want to answer this, but like verbals text, I don't know. That question is just written a little strangely. You're doing both cold approach and online dating, which is good. So, what are your results, right? Like, how many matches are you getting? How many dates are you getting from online? And then, how many approaches are you doing? How many numbers? How many dates are you getting from in person, right? Because, look, I could give you a generic answer, but you're on this live stream. Might as well use the opportunity to give you a specified answer for your exact situation. I mean, look, that's a common question. It's basically what built the red pill community. And you can look at all the coaches, look at the girlfriends they actually have. You know, how many of them actually have hot girlfriends? I guess Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate have, but of course they ended up getting accused of trafficking and might go to jail for their whole lives. So that's like the one example of red pill coaches who talk all about status that have had tangible success, proof of success, and they're in the worst scenario possible. So, I don't. That mindset is something that's been peddled and spread, and it's not like it's completely untrue. If you have more status, look, if you're the DJ at a club, you're going to get opportunities. Even if you're a bartender, you'll get opportunities just from being a bartender, and that's situational status. If you are surrounded by attractive women, that is going to make you more attractive to other women. That's a type of status called pre-selection. Although all those things are real, but the idea that you're just going to build status and then women are going to start flocking to you, it's only true if you're going to get to the top 0.01%, maybe even 0.001%. So you have to become like a professional athlete, a world known musical artist, right? Something like that. And then women will start coming to you. Sure, you'll start getting freebies, right? That's not realistic. Most people don't even want to do that. It's not realistic for most people. And chances are you're not going to be the one that succeeds, even if you did that. Now, if by build status you mean getting rich will look, if you're absolutely poor, like super broke, focusing more on money than dating, I would agree with that, right? If you're completely broke, I would focus more on getting to some level of financial success. Like not crazy, but just enough to actually not be living paycheck to paycheck. That should be a bigger focus. But you'll find that as you make more money, the only thing that really changes, and this is from me going from broke to relatively well off, not like multimillionaire or anything, but better than most. The only thing that changes is you get access to better environments, right? So you can live in a better city, in a better area, and you can cultivate opportunities from that. But having a nice car, not going to get you laid. Having a Rolex, not going to get you laid. A gold digger might pay attention to you and try to dig gold, but that's it. And I've had plenty of multimillionaire clients who are struggling, even good looking multimillionaire clients who are not getting any results. It's a fantasy. What is it based off of? Like, who do you know that became rich and then women started just coming to them? Right. So it's something you really want to think logically about and realize that our mind really does a good job at looking for any way to avoid doing something difficult. Approaching women is difficult. You're facing rejection. That's one of the deep seated universal human fears that we want to avoid the most, right? And because of that, your brain is going to look for any way to someday they'll just start coming to me. It's very appealing. But do you see that working? And even the people who peddle that message, the red pill coaches, are they getting those results, right? Do you see any red pill coaches like with receipts, with infield, with proof that they're dating hot women because they built their status up? And the answer is not really. Now, that said, like, I'm working on getting into better shape. It's not going to hurt, getting to 10% body fat. It helps, but it's only like one lever. And the biggest lever, like all those levers don't matter at all if the foundation is you're not approaching, not taking action, not putting yourself out there. Right. So getting into better shape helps, especially with online dating, actually more than in real life. Getting more money helps. Do those things, but don't avoid the one thing that you're afraid to do. That's actually going to be the most rewarding, right? If cold approach is the thing that you're avoiding, it's actually going to be more rewarding to do it and to every little win you get because it's something that you have more resistance towards, right? Wherever there's the most resistance, there's the most sense of achievement, progress, the most increase of self-esteem when you do it. So that would be a pretty long answer, but that's my answer to that. If there's someone you could share the pictures, that might help. But saying you have good suit pics, a lot of good professional pics, even with like a suit, they're LinkedIn pictures. They're good LinkedIn pictures. A good LinkedIn picture is not the same thing as a picture that women find attractive. So I'm going to bet these pictures are not good. If you could answer, have you gotten these pictures rated on PhotoFeeler, which is an app where you can have women actually rate your pictures on attractiveness? And if so, what are the ratings? And if not, why do you think they're good? Just don't act like you want a relationship. And, after you've been seeing each other, at some point, just be honest, right? That, you see you're not looking for a relationship right now. I got to think about exactly the phrasing, but because there is a correct way to do it and an incorrect way to do it. But generally, if you're honest and you show that you're willing to leave, then they'll be okay with it. General rule of thumb. And if they're not, then you're not wasting their time, and it's better anyway for everyone involved. Getting 30 approaches a week, 4 numbers, that seems a little low. With 2 dates off the number, the ratio of dates is very good. So 2 dates a week is not bad at all. And I guess the next question is, how often are those dates leading to something where you're actually, getting laid? And then the other question is, if you're doing mostly night game, 30 approach is a little low. You want to get to like 50. If you're doing mostly day game, then that's pretty solid. Mainly approach sets with 2 girls. I'm starting to approach girls in groups. It's important to make friends with the other girls. Look, it's actually harder with 2 girls because if there's 2, then you have to distract the other one, right? You have to engage them, involve them, include them, whatever, or they're just going to kind of get jealous and not want you to be there, right? So if you can do approaches with 2 girls, then a bigger group is actually easier because to a much greater degree, you can leave the other ones uninvolved, right? Like you don't need to include them as much because they can just talk amongst themselves. So it's basically just easier, all from day game. Honestly, that's not bad. In terms of the amount of approaches, you might increase it a little. But if you're getting 2 dates a week, that's really not bad. It just depends on how often those dates are leading to something, right? That would be the big question. And then why are you not doing night game? Oh shit. Nice. Why are you not doing night game? Because there are certainly some benefits to doing night game. So if you're having a conversation for 40 minutes, you should be getting more than a number in most cases. There's no reason to have an interaction for 40 minutes unless you're at least attempting to pull them, right? You think this is an opportunity where I might be able to move it forward, right? Take them to a different venue and then back to your place or whatever. Because you want to think about it, really after about 15 minutes, they have enough information to feel like they want to see you again or not, right? To be invested in the idea of seeing you again or not. And you deal with the law of diminishing returns because you spend twice that amount of time. You could have met several other girls during that same time, right? And then had potential, dates with them as well, right? If you're just getting the number, after a certain point, there's no reason to keep the interaction going that long unless you're trying to move it forward, which is fine. But um, yeah, it'd be 40-minute interactions or something that should only really happen if you're like you think you could take them home and then something gets in the way and you're not able to, right? You try, but you're not able to. And also, if you spend too much time with a girl at a certain point, um, it can start to feel a little needy unless it's going extremely well. Right? At a certain point, it's like it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. It doesn't feel like it's moving towards something. And you're just having a 40-minute interaction, it kind of fizzles out. So it's okay. I'm not saying you should never do that, but if you are doing that, you should at least be leading them a lot, taking them to dance, making out, going to different areas, things like that. If not, pulling. Well, this is taking it in the other extreme, right? So this is too far in the other direction because uh, if you just ask a girl out in 30 seconds, if they're like very physically attracted to you, you're their exact type, you come in really strong, they're super available, it'll work some of the time. But there's a lot of girls who are they're like, yeah, he was cute or whatever, or I liked his vibe, but I don't know anything about him. I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know if he's going to be pushy or needy or weird. And if you talk to them for 5 to 15 minutes, is usually what I'd consider the sweet spot. Then you can definitely, make that work. Or that's definitely better. Sorry, right? That's a lot better. Is to get them invested, to get an idea of who you are, to feel like, oh, I really want to see this guy again, and to have something to like remember about the interaction. Yeah, I mean, the average is good, but sometimes it should be more. What kind of environment are you doing these approaches in? Well, look, right now I am not massively overweight, but I'm technically overweight, and it hasn't caused me many problems at all. Some of the most attractive women I've ever hooked up with was when I was more overweight than I am now. I even have infield. Um, good chance, good opportunity for a plug, but I even have an infield taking home a fitness model while I weighed 215 pounds, more than I weigh now. And it's not available on YouTube because pulls, you can't really put those on YouTube. But oh wait, Young Cupid, is this who I think it is? The guy from you're in my group, right? So you can get access to that infield in that group. By joining that group, you get instant access to 5 hours of infield, including the fitness model pull while I was 215 pounds. Street game, yeah. So 30 approaches a week is very solid. I would do some night game. LA is fine for day game, but I'd say it's better for night game. So you should be doing both. Okay, 1 second, guys. Just need to do a little technical thing. But keep the questions coming. Okay. Okay, there we go. They're laughing at your lamer jokes. That's a huge sign of attraction, right? When you say something that isn't that great, but they're still laughing. Um, Coming across as friendly and maybe not someone they'd like to sleep with. Well, are you moving things forward, right? Are you escalating physically? Are you escalating verbally? Are you holding intense eye contact? Are you, taking them by the hand and, hey, let's go dance. Hey, let's go, if it's in the day, hey, let's go, get a smoothie. Let's get a coffee. Let's go over there and sit for a minute, whatever. Are you like actually moving them forward, or are you kind of just hoping it'll happen? That's one of the most common mistakes. I made this myself. That's one of the most common mistakes I see. All right. If I don't see any more good questions, I might wrap this up early. See if I missed anything. Another thing about being overweight is there was a period where I lost, it was over 30 pounds, maybe 40 in about 6 months. And really, the main thing I changed was doing a lot of day game. I was doing like an hour plus a day for most days. And walking is a very easy and sustainable way to get cardio. And even if you're not approaching, you're still losing weight, right? So it's a great example of two birds with one stone. I have one that's free and one that's paid. The one that's paid has more features. It has the infield. It has more calls. It's more personalized. There's a lot of differences. But I also have a free one, and that one's linked in the video description somewhere. So everyone should join the free one. If you're really committed, then that's when the premium one's for you. But there's really no reason not to join the free one. Mm, I see. Well, definitely if you're 300, you need to lose weight. I mean, that's definitely a priority. But what I would do in that situation, online dating isn't really going to work for you at that weight. But what you can do is do day games slash walking or hikes, etc. Do things where you're going out and you're gonna look. You can have success. There are guys who have extreme charisma and are that overweight who still have success. It's definitely harder, right? At a certain point, at like once you're past a certain body fat, let's say 35 or something, it's a big difference. Um, but if you're doing that, you're going to be losing weight anyway while building up the social skills, and you never know what might happen. But the worst thing that happens is you're basically preparing yourself by starting to do some approaches, starting to put yourself out there for that. As you get into better shape, you'll already have momentum, you already be approaching, and so it'll just naturally be an upward spiral, right? So that's the mentality I would take with that. What did you get the number? I'm here in my garage. Here's my Lambo. Um, nice picture there. Insta. I mean, if your Insta's good, then Insta's fine. Most guys should not be going for Instas unless you have no choice. But even then, if she won't give you the number, it's like not a sign that it's going to happen anyway. But if you're posting good stories and you have good pictures, even if you have a low follower count, I mean, it's better to have more. But even if you have a low follower count, but you have some good pro pictures that like put you in a flattering light, then Instagram is worth using. But like 95% of guys don't have that. So it's better to just get numbers. Um, and the girl on the bus, sometimes there's an energy dip that's going to happen. Happens to me much less than usual, but or much less than it used to, but that happens even to me. There's no avoiding that. The big problem here is like you shouldn't even be thinking much about that interaction because there's so many opportunities, leads, whatever that are happening that the ones that like, oh, that wasn't a good interaction, you forget about it, right? There's been plenty of nights, even recently where I remember one night, the first six approaches, this was like a month ago, every girl was just like super dismissive. I was not in a very good mood either, which, is kind of why, but they just went really badly. I was off. I was feeling like, fuck, well, this is my job and I'm getting rejected. I'm not doing good. Just sucked. And then after that, I started having fun. After that, had a couple good interactions. And then it was like the seventh or eighth girl I approached, I ended up pulling. Right. So I vaguely remember those negative interactions because I told the story right after it happened. But if it hadn't, I wouldn't probably remember them. And they don't bother me, right? Because what I remember about that night that is most important is that ultimately it ended up being a great night. So my guess with this bus situation is you're probably not doing enough approaches overall. Sadly, that's the answer to a lot of questions. No. She actually I wish I got the infield because the audio at the end as we're walking back to my place, the audio cut off because the cameraman was too far back. But at that part, she even went on a little like monologue about how she preferred guys that were not as good looking as her. Right. She specifically started talking about the reasons that she liked that, how it made her more at ease and more comfortable and stuff. So I really wish that part I got, but yeah, she's not yours. It's just your turn. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that inherently. There's a degree of truth to that, right? In most cases, unless you're looking for marriage and planning on getting married, yeah, you don't want to see her as like it's just about a mindset. It's kind of like how in rap, they call women bitches. Well, there's a reason for that because men naturally pedestalize women, right? And they get over invested and over romantic and take it too seriously. And that's a way to like combat that. So this is kind of another example of that. It's like not taking it too seriously, not being too over invested. And generally, even though the red pill, there's a lot of stuff I don't agree with. I don't think there's anything wrong with that mindset. Damn, that's great that you killed your approach anxiety in 3 weeks. That's amazing. Um, I'm curious, like, have you been getting many numbers? Are you starting to get, some tangible results, dates, etc.? But that's a very good start. If you're able to get rid of approach anxiety, that's the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle that is going to prevent anything else from working, right? Because if you have massive approach anxiety and you can't approach, well, how are you going to get any results until you face that and overcome that? You're not, right? And a lot of guys get stuck at that level one. Probably most guys get stuck at that level one, sadly. And so if you're able to get over that, that means doing more approaches isn't going to be that big of a deal for you because you don't have much resistance to it. And doing the next thing that's more bold is not going to be that difficult because you've already been facing your ego. You have momentum. So just make sure to utilize that. Bro, I've had girls hit me up 6 months later, a year later. They see on Instagram that I went to their city, dead number, and end up hooking up with them. So yeah, why not? Why not just send a little something if it's from a long time ago? That's awesome. How long ago did you do these approaches? And I'm curious what happened and how you feel. I'm guessing you feel even if it didn't go well, you got to feel like a monkey off your back, right? Like a sense of accomplishment. I swear to God, I got asked this question on the last live stream I did, but um, it approaching from the side is generally that's one thing I disagree with Mystery because it just seems Mystery is like 6'6", right? Or something. He's extremely tall, at least 6'4". So for him, he's already taking up a lot of attention in space, and some of his advice is based on that fact. So it applies to him, but he was thinking about what worked for him is not necessarily going to be what works for others. And I think that's one of the blind spots or flaws in his teaching. There's a lot of good advice there, but he's not your average guy. And some of the things he learned worked for him being a performer, being someone who had experience as a magician, so already has social skills to make that work, who already has ways to get people's attention, and who is automatically peacocking just by his own existence, plus is dressed super garishly, right? And is going to get attention for that. So what works for him is not necessarily what will work for anyone else. And now approaching indirectly is especially useful in a mixed group with guys in it. And Mystery, a lot of his approaches are that. And for that, it's useful. Although you can still go direct with a group and make it work. It's just more difficult. I do feel like, I mean, look, could I make it work? Yes, I could make it work. But at some point, I'd have to like lie about my age or something, which I wouldn't do. Um, So I would say somewhere in the late 20s is where I would have stopped, or where I did stop, I think. It's probably like 27-ish. Um, but it's, it's up to you. I know guys who are older who make it work. I personally wouldn't. But yeah, at some point you're just gonna have to like make up your age or something, which is, you're starting the whole relationship on a lie. So I wouldn't do that. Well, for online game, you need to get a good photo shoot. Easiest way is to hire someone. Easiest website to find decent photographers. They're not like 10 out of 10, but they're good. Not all of them, but most of them would be snapper.com, snappr.com. I'm going to start doing photo shoots myself soon as their own, individual offering, but it's not set up yet. Um, I'm curious what the trash talk you're talking about is specifically. Um, Usually, I found that having a reputation as a player or a guy that like talks to a lot of women, as long as you're not overly aggressive and you're someone who respects boundaries, usually helps more than it hurts. There might be the occasional girl you lose because of that, but there's going to be several other girls that become more interested and become more intrigued, and at least like you are not just a nobody with no like who is irrelevant. There's one time I was pulling this uh bikini model. She was a bikini model from my university, and I was walking down the street with her, and these people who didn't like me, um, these people that didn't like me because they saw me approaching a lot, saw me pulling all the time, and they were jealous or whatever. They yelled across the street saying that I had AIDS and that I was a piece of shit, etc. And it made pulling her 10 times easier, right? It didn't hurt at all. So not really a big issue. And it's your last semester, so you're going to get useful data to see what you can get away with and how far you can push things, right? Because worst that happens is, well, you're gone anyway. So it doesn't matter. What's up, Jesus? Yeah, I've traveled throughout the states a lot. I haven't done game much outside the country, like a little bit in Mexico, um, but not really. I've traveled to a number of other countries, but mostly when I was younger. So, however, having lived in Vegas for what 3 years or so, I've met women from every single country, uh, pretty much, and a very large sample size. And the differences is, from some countries they're a little colder, some they're a little warmer. Um, in like East Asian countries, they're more like tied up with their social circle, right? Cold approach is a little less normal, but it still can work, right? I dated a Korean girl for a while. So there's differences, but they're not so drastic that you should really fixate it on it. Unless you're like specifically trying to be a passport bro and move to another country for women. Like, yeah, there's differences. It's not that big of a deal. Um, some countries they'll make out, but they're harder to pull. It's just very small differences, not something worth thinking about for most people, though. Depends on the scenario. In day game, generally, it's going to be very hard to pull two girls. You could do it, but it's not really worth the effort in most cases. However, in a club, you absolutely can pull when you approach two girls. Either you find a wingman just in the environment, just find any guy and like get him involved and try to get him to talk to the other girl, or act like the girl's wingman, ask if she's single, and if she's not single, she probably won't cock block as hard. But if she is single, ask what her type is, and then help her find guys that match her type, right? You can actually like approach guys for her, or like, motivate her to go approach a guy. Oh, my battery is not charging for some reason. Hmm. No idea. Might have to wrap up because my laptop, the charger's not working and it is about to die. Um, just don't self-reject and just lean into the awkwardness, right? Just stay until they reject you at least, right? Until they leave. Just get used to owning that. It's always an opportunity if you're like feel like you're starting to run out of things to say, try to move things forward. Like, hey, let's go dance or come meet my friends or whatever. But just lean into that instead of like whenever you just self-reject, you're not gaining as much as if you just face the real man's blowout. And once you get that, you know, it makes you less reactive, more grounded, and then it'll be easier to think of things to say and to keep the conversation going in those scenarios in the future. That's not bad. I mean, how many dates is that leading to, and how many girls are actually hooking up with? But that sounds solid. Yeah, it's a few years ago. Who cares? Like, right? Like, what's it going to lead to? What does it matter? Yeah, if you're gonna have you're gonna have drama or whatever when dealing with women, but usually that's what attracts them, right? Like the guys that are the source of drama are the ones they're most attracted to. I mean, my last long-term girlfriend was from a club. She is a Oxford PhD. She very beautiful. She was a virgin when we met. So yeah, um, that's a kind of broad question. I guess the most important thing is what is the evidence that the coach produces results for his clients, right? So, what are the testimonials like, and what is his own proof of results, right? Does he have good infield, or at least like pictures of hot girls with hot girls in a scenario where it's clearly they're together, right? Not just like I don't in public or something. Um, and those would be the two main ones. Yeah, I mean, what consequences there really? The worst thing is you get a bad reputation and that affects you somehow. But you'll find that, the guy who does 10 times as many approaches and a few have negative things to say about him, first of all, most girls aren't going to even know any of the other girls that you've known, right? Like, if it's just an approach, they don't really know you, they don't care, it's not going to be on their radar. Like most of the girls are never going to talk about you or think about you again. And the ones you actually date are the only ones that would care. And well, you dated them, so it's pre-selection. I don't know Dallas very well, so I couldn't really tell you. Um, Most attractive. It depends on what you define as attractive, because Miami, in terms of Latinas, would be the best. In terms of like hot white girls, would probably be Scottsdale, which is Phoenix, basically. And then in terms of like more girl next door kind of type, like more educated, less plastic surgery, I'd say Austin. And then for variety, I would say Vegas. All right. So yeah, battery's at 1%. I'm gonna wrap it up because I don't know why the charger isn't working. But it was good talking to you guys. I'll be doing another one of these tomorrow. And make sure to join the free group. Like I would hope to see you as one of the next success stories. And here's the link to that. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.